Daz Play. So I'm going to do a review of one of the DAZ models in my inventory, working along in order from the previous ones. Excuse me. Today's going to be the 2001 EU Auto. So it looks basically like a bug. Or a Beetle. That's what the file name says, the new Beetle. So was this new when it was made? I don't know. Let's take a look. I'm just going to move it out a little bit. So first of all, I like the custom license plate. California 4NQE750. I was trying to figure out if it was a vanity type plate. It's even got the VW logo, so that's pretty authentic. That's pretty accurate. The interior looks good. I'm not thrilled about the matte, low detail texture or material surface in the program, but we all know that things render differently when they're done. Now, let's see. So it looks pretty authentic. It looks like a Beetle. I'm going to pull out a little bit here, and let's take a look underneath. So it looks like we've got a muffler sticking out of the back, but other than that, there's no sculpted detail underneath. So this model wouldn't be good for a shot where you were under the car, or it was, flying off a ramp. If you're looking for something that's accurate to reality, you'd have to render and add on your own parts or draw them in yourself and post after. But there is at least a dual exhaust muffler there. But yeah, so that could be better for detail. Let's check and see if it's got the articulation that I like to see. So let's try. We've got the left door and the right door. So the left door is the driver's side. We're going to open that. And it is pretty detailed inside. You've got cup holders, you've got the dash and everything, the VW steering wheel. So what it lacks in detail underneath, it looks like they've put the effort in. They've even got the accurate headrests. Let's see the other side, the right door. And what I really like is that they've made the hinge true to life. That's something that was missing in the previous car models we looked at, was that you could close and open the doors far beyond what they'd be able to in real life. So where the hood and the trunk were like that too. So this, they've at least put the thought in to think of, would the door actually open all that way? So you guys know when I look at vehicles, the next thing I'm interested in is the trunk. And thank God we have a trunk lid. Lots of articulation, very accurate. Even looks like they have the little slider that comes out to divide the trunk space if you want. The one thing that is lacking is the spare tire detail that the other car models had. So in this case, the designer didn't feel like a spare tire was necessary, and I honestly can't be sure if that's something that would come standard in real life with this car. So it's hard for me to decide if the lack of a spare tire is more or less accurate. We know the interior looks good. There's gotta be articulation for the hood. I have to hope. So we've got a right seat, a left seat, a trunk lid, a steering wheel. Steering wheel moves, it turns. Like, that's great. That's fantastic articulation. Right door, left door. FL brake, rear brakes, rear wheels. All right, let's close these doors. Let's take a look. Okay, the wheels rotate, and that's great. I don't know that they turn. They rotate. but they don't turn. So there is some articulation missing, and the fact that there's no engine or hood on this. Now, something I do know about these Beetles is that if you opened the hood yourself instead of having a licensed VW mechanic work on it, it did void the warranty. So if I was being really generous, I could say maybe that was a subtle nod to it by the designer, but regardless, it's disappointing. You've got this, you've got all the dash stuff, you've got your cup holders, you've got your parking brake and everything inside there, but there's no engine and the hood doesn't open. That makes the model a little less useful. If you want to do a scene where the hood's up, now you have to kit bash it together or build your own assets, and that's kind of counter to the point of purchasing a model. So that is definitely a criticism that I have for this model, even though I've used it. I used it in Trumpocalypse Now. It was Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton's car in Trumpocalypse Now, and had a different finish. Let's check the materials. Now, this is something I like. There is a wide variety of materials and textures, paint jobs for this car, so that's fantastic. You can change the windows from tinted to clear. You can turn the lights off and on. So those are all great features. I just tinted the windows. I just untinted the windows. So those are really great features and details. Now, let's change the color. At least you can see the car a little bit better. I find that default flat black makes it really hard to see the detail and where the light might shine off the vehicle. What do we have for utilities? Windows up and windows down. So those are great features. Windows down, windows up. That's awesome. The model itself looks nice. It's very well detailed. The polys look good. So overall, I do like this model. It does lose marks for having low detail under the hood and underneath of the body. So overall, out of 5 stars, I'm rating these models on options, articulation, function, looks, and a render quality. So let's see what this renders like. I'm just going to double check my render settings. Make sure my max samples is set to 320 because we're only outputting a still image. We're not outputting animation. We don't need any more samples than 320. You can probably get by with 3. I'm going to leave the shadow intensity and the environment intensity as it is so we can see some shadow and highlights. I'm also using NVIDIA iRay. You can see there's various different render engines that will process the image better. I really like the look of iRay, even though it does take the most amount of time and it's the most complicated. It takes longer to render. However, the end results are usually beautiful. So let's see what this one looks like. And it's still rendering, but I can definitely tell you that it looks good. I really like how the light hits things. I mean, it's hard to make something look bad when it's rendered in iRay, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. The NVIDIA iRay render engine works on, if I am remembering correctly, reflected light. So it calculates synthetic or synthesized light as if the object is in a real space. How would the light hit it and then reflect off of it? And that really dictates the highlight and color of the image. It's much more, if I'm correct, it's based more on the way we see light and color in real life. And I think that's probably why the results are always so nice. And you can see there's a nice shadow to the side of it. I probably could have pulled out even further, but I like to see it in detail. I like to really get into the nitty-gritty and see what the surfaces look like. Like, I want to know if there's a leather pattern on the interior or if there's a fabric pattern on the back of the seat, you know? I want to be able to see that. So this does look really good. So I think I'm about ready to tell you my analysis of this. So we've got 5 stars for 5 categories: options, articulation, function, looks, and render quality. So options are like How useful is this? Now, we saw that there was a whole bunch of different paint jobs and other options for this model. So you could use multiple copies of this model in a scene. Maybe not fill the whole street with beetles, that would kind of be obvious, but you could use a couple of them in a scene with different colors and different finishes, and it wouldn't look too out of place. So options, I'm going to give it a full star. They did lots of good stuff on that. Articulation, if it had gone a little bit further, it would have gotten a full star, but because there's a lack of detail underneath, because I can't open the hood and see the engine, and because I don't know if there should be a spare tire or not, I'm going to give it half a star for articulation. Now, function, meaning, is it reusable? Is it something that I can use in almost any type of game or art that I want? Now, I always make this argument with vehicles that obviously it can't be used for anything that takes place in a time period or a world that was before that car existed. So I'm going to say yes, it's basically anything from 2001 on it's very useful for, but nothing before that, and that makes it a little bit limiting. So I'm going to give it half a star for function. It's really hard to get a full star for function because it's very rare that a model could be used in almost any project. Now, looks. I do like the look of it in the program better than some of the other models. It does look better than once you add one of the alternative colors as opposed to the default flat matte black. So I'm going to give it half a star for looks in the program, and then as you can see right here, the render is finished. I think that looks beautiful. That's a great little yellow beetle. So that's going to get a number 1 for render quality. So it's got a full star for render quality. I'm going to go back to the screen real quick and make sure I get the product name correct. So that's the 2001 EU Auto. Now, EU to me stands for Europe or European, and VW is European. Beetles are made in Europe. I'm surprised the driver's wheel is not on the right side instead of the left if it's supposed to be the European model. If I'm misreading EU and someone out there knows, let me know. So I'm going to save this so that I can keep track of the models that I've reviewed. Now, for the final rundown, we've got a star for options, half a star for articulation, half a star for function, half a star for looks, and 1 star for render quality. That makes 3.5 stars out of 5 altogether. That's pretty good. Let's take a look at the details page. Oh, page not found. Well, that's surprising. I'll just have to do the old chromity chrome. Actually, this isn't Chrome, this is Edge. Hilarious. 2001 EU Auto. Here we go. It's $1.99 on DAZ. That's a good deal. Even if it's not a 5-star model, that's a good deal. And the artists were DAZ Originals and Alberto Daniel Russo. So that's who made it, and you can get it on DAZ. You can use it in your 3D modeling. I love the hatchback. I love the doors. Looks like a nice car. So 3.5 out of 5 stars is pretty good. And if you need to put a beetle in your game, in your art, in your comic, whatever you're going to use it for, this is a really good option. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be back shortly.